As you progress along your personal development journey, you will grow to learn how crucial your ability to manage emotions is. Your growth will not only lead you to achieving emotional mastery, but by keeping authenticity at the forefront of your mind, it will actually enhance your overall emotional intelligence. Welcome to the BU channel, where we do a deep dive into personal development and look at it through the lens of authenticity. I am Safia, author of the book BU, Your Life Depends on It, the original volume, and the Transformation Journal. Now, before I share 5 ways authenticity boosts your emotional intelligence, I think it's best that we first understand what emotional intelligence is, including its 4 elements, why it's important, and how to identify when yours might be high or low. Make sure you get your notebook and pen out because we are going to go very deep in this video, okay? I've already got mine. Let's make it happen. So what is emotional intelligence? Well, according to Merriam-Webster, emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize, understand, and deal skillfully with one's own emotions and the emotions of others. Now, for the context of personal development, I would swap out the word skillfully and place the focus more on healthy. I think that's more accurate because that's our aim here, to become more whole and healthy human beings. Another word for emotional intelligence is emotional quotient, or EQ. I like to think of it that all of us, every one of us, has a fixed amount of emotional energy, and our emotional intelligence is our ability to manage and distribute our emotional energy towards ourselves and those around us. It can be very challenging, and it's pretty much something that we struggle with for the entirety of our lives. I mean, if you're giving yourself too much emotional energy, you might feel depressed, anxious, self-conscious. You might be overthinking a lot, ruminating. But because you're spending so much emotional energy on yourself, you're leaving very little for everybody else and maintaining those relationships around you. So those relationships naturally will suffer. On the flip side of things, if you're giving everybody else too much emotional energy, you might be the person that they go to trauma dump. They might put all their problems on you. You might feel so overburdened by their problems that you have little energy left to handle your own problems. And because you've got so little emotional energy left for yourself, you're not keeping up with your own emotional health and doing any emotional maintenance strategies. Now, both of the examples I gave are examples of low emotional intelligence because they both show an inability to effectively manage the distribution of emotional energy. So either way, your energy is depleted. So why is emotional intelligence important? Well, to put it simply, we're emotional beings, and we're always releasing emotional energy whether we realize it or not. Now, the better we get at it, the stronger our relationship is with ourselves because we can become better at managing stress and managing our emotional health. But it also improves our relationship with those around us because we become better at conflict resolution, at working as a team, which might even open up more opportunities for us. It just makes life easier on a whole. Now I want you to drop your affirmation in the comments. I am the master of my own emotional energy. Okay, so now that we've understood emotional intelligence as a general concept, let's dive deep and talk about the 4 components of emotional intelligence. Now, I've split them up into 2 internal components and 2 external components. So if we start off with the internal components, the first one is self-awareness. This is all about how well you can understand and recognize your own emotions. Do you have the language to describe what you're feeling? And what are your triggers? How do your emotions impact your thoughts and behaviors? Once you have this self-awareness of your emotional state, that then lends itself to your ability to self-regulate, which is the second internal component of emotional intelligence. This is all about controlling your impulses and reactions. Can you pause before you respond? And how quickly can you shift from an emotional state into a rational state without ignoring and overlooking the emotional ramifications of what is happening? Now, your ability to manage and navigate your own emotional environment then gives you the capacity to become aware of other people's emotional environment. And this is our first external element of emotional intelligence, which is social awareness. Can you identify other people's emotional state? Are you sensitive to their needs? And this is also where we talk about empathy. Your ability to identify emotional changes in others then lends itself to your ability to cultivate and manage those interactions and relationships with them as well. That is the second external component of emotional intelligence, relationship management. And this is where we talk about your social skills and how adept you are in social settings. Now, in a social context, there will be a clear difference between how someone with a high versus a low external emotional quotient might behave. Someone with a high EQ will show a genuine interest in others. They'll be good listeners. They'll give good conversation. They'll be assertive in how they communicate their own boundaries, but they'll also respect those of other people. Someone with a low external EQ, however, might be socially disconnected. They might inadvertently alienate other people, or they might feel alienated themselves. They might come across as overly passive or overly aggressive and have difficulty reading social cues. Now, those are examples of people with high versus a low external EQ. So what about those with a high or low internal EQ? Well, someone with a high internal EQ will be very in tune with themselves. They will deliberately spend time in solitude to become one with understanding their own emotional energy. They might have really good intuition as well. On the other hand, someone with low internal EQ might feel drained, exhausted, and burnt out a lot of the time. They might be irritable, but not know why. The idea is that we become better at balancing this emotional energy that we're sharing with others for our relationships, but we're keeping enough for ourselves. As previously mentioned, we all have a fixed amount of emotional energy, but our emotional intelligence can vary. As we get older, more mature, and have more life experiences, I believe that for most of us, our emotional intelligence will improve. But also, it can fluctuate as we go through different seasons of life. If you're in a good season, for example, where life feels easy, everything is flowing and abundant, then your EQ is a lot higher because you're dealing with a lot less heavy emotions. It's easier for you to manage the emotional energy that you have between yourself and others. On the other hand, when you're going through a difficult season, perhaps you're dealing with some setbacks and challenges, maybe even stagnation, it's a lot more difficult for you to healthily manage the distribution of emotional energy. You're more likely to feel, exhausted, burnt out, so you might not have the energy for yourself or other people. Ultimately, such changes in life are natural, and there's nothing wrong with changing how you allocate your emotional energy based on what you're going through in life at the time. But a true master of their emotions knows how to navigate their emotions and those of others, regardless of whatever life circumstances are going on. They keep these fluctuations to a minimum because they practice having consistent character. But remember, this takes practice. Okay, we've extensively talked about emotional intelligence, so like the video now if you now have a greater understanding of it than you did before. Now, let's talk about the 5 ways authenticity boosts your emotional intelligence. The first way authenticity boosts your emotional intelligence is through diminishing ego. Cultivating your authenticity means that you take responsibility for your emotions and your actions. And you know that others are responsible for their emotions. So their behavior and actions are a reflection on them and not necessarily a reflection on you. Knowing this allows you to regulate your own emotional environment. You don't take things personally. You observe them without internalizing. You don't connect their behavior to your identity. And when you move with this emotional maturity, it allows you to navigate social situations with genuine confidence. The second way authenticity boosts your emotional intelligence is through self-reflection. Prioritizing authenticity means you spend a lot of time contemplating your internal environment and its complex relationship with your external environment. The more frequently you practice this, the more aware you become in social situations. You become better at identifying who you should interact with, when you should interact, where you should interact, and how. Your mind is a constant feedback loop, so it's using information from past situations to inform how you should navigate any current and future situations that are similar. And the more you do this, the better you become at navigating the emotions that fuel your interactions with other people. The third way authenticity boosts your emotional intelligence is through self-knowledge. Being authentic means you rely heavily on your knowledge of self. This includes your emotional state, your triggers, and how they affect your thoughts and behaviors. Beyond this, you're also aware of the social situations you would thrive in and the types of people you would be most compatible with. You use this knowledge of self to sensibly decide how to distribute your emotional energy in a way that gives life to others but doesn't deplete you. The fourth way authenticity boosts your emotional intelligence is through validation. Authenticity is all about living in truth, but when you refuse to accept how you feel or struggle to identify how you feel in the first place, it impairs your ability to navigate your emotions. But when you are readily accepting of how you feel, it allows you to move quickly through those intense waves of emotion and regulate how you respond. Rather than remaining in an emotional state where your decision making is impaired, you swiftly shift into a logical frame of mind where you can act in your own best interest, but also healthily navigate the emotions of others. This benefits you when it comes to conflict resolution and also when others find themselves confiding in you. The fifth way authenticity boosts your emotional intelligence is by developing intuition. When you work towards authenticity, you become very in tune with the language of your higher self, which is your intuition. With this higher awareness, you make better choices about where and how you socialize. When you're intuitive, you connect with yourself on a deeper level, which means you're not operating just from your physical senses, but your higher senses allow you to detect what is unseen, people's true thoughts, their energy, their emotions and sensitivities, and this allows you to connect with them on a deeper level as well. If you feel inspired and are ready to start working on your emotional intelligence, starting with the internal elements of EQ, then I highly recommend getting a copy of my book that I mentioned at the start of this video and the complimentary transformation journal. Now, the chapters in the transformation journal are all directly in correspondence with the chapters in the original volume, so you can get them as a bundle, either as hard copies or the digital copies. Now, to save you the trouble of flicking through the pages once you get them, I'm going to tell you the pages and chapters that are specifically geared towards your emotional intelligence. Now, your emotional life chapter in the original volume is on page 14, and we talk about why we have emotions, how to filter your emotions through self-reflection, and it explores a powerful approach to handling your emotions. So that's page 14 in the original volume. And the corresponding chapter in the transformation journal is on page 21. And its activities help you practice self-awareness, and it kind of tests how in tune you are with your own emotions, but also helps you identify the root of your emotions. Now, the emotional health subchapter is found on page 31 of the original volume, and it talks about how to identify and evaluate your emotional environment, how to navigate intense and unpleasant emotions, and also categorizing your actions and how you respond. It also gives you some examples of emotional maintenance strategies, along with, of course, defining what that is and what happens when you neglect your emotional health. So that's on page 31 of the original volume. Okay, so now the corresponding chapter in the transformation journal is on page 35, and it gives you space to write out and evaluate your own emotional health. There's also some prompts and questions where you can come up with your own emotional maintenance strategies, and there's habit trackers in the back to support you with that as well. In addition, it gives you some space to talk through how you've handled your emotions in the past, and finally, to identify what emotional burnout looks like within yourself and how to avoid it in the future. So all of that is in the transformation journal. So if you're interested in getting both the journal and my book, I will leave a link to both of them in the pinned comments below, along with the page numbers and chapters that I've just referenced. Thank you for making it to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it and found it very informative. If you did, make sure you leave a like and subscribe. Emotional intelligence is something we should all attempt to master, so definitely share this video with as many people as you can. Keep shining, and always remember, be you. Your life depends on it. See you in the next video. Bye for now.